All right, hello, everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films, and today here for our last episode of the live discussions with Diamond podcast, I have none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Prophex.
What's up? Hello, que? How you doing, man? I'm
Oh
glad
man,
to be here.
absolutely, man. For me, like I told you before privately, this has been a long time coming, and realizing too, like I've talked to you before, that your music honestly kind of dates back over 5, 10 years, and realizing that a lot of some of my favorite songs growing up when I used to go to these clubs in the Bronx and Manhattan and Brooklyn, a lot of these songs were yours. And now actually fast forwarding 10 years later, and I'm actually talking to the man here.
Yeah, man. Let me know which clubs you used to go to.
Man, I think we talked about it too. I used to go to X Bar, Jimmy's Cafe. Oh my God, let me see. Salsa con
I got to I got to
Fuego.
I got to perform at Jimmy's a couple of times. I got to open up. Matter of fact, I was on stage with Terror Squad one day at Jimmy's.
Oh
It was
man,
crazy.
okay. Look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
you. Man, we
It
gotta
was
get all
crazy.
absolutely, man. And like for me, I think it's so important that we really shed light and recognize not just the dancers, not just the organizers, not just the DJs, but really also the true musicians and the people who are behind the music that we love, the music that we dance to. And for me, just really looking at your catalog, and especially now with social media, Spotify is the big thing, and realizing that you're one of the artists that honestly, for me, I'm truly inspired because seeing your rise, especially from your journey back in New York and now you're in Montreal. And I mean, for you having 18,000 plus monthly listeners on Spotify, it speaks volumes because it really shows the fan base that you have and that you're continuing to grow.
Yeah, man. Definitely. You know, one thing though that before COVID, I was up to like 62,000 listeners, and honestly, over the COVID thing, it's been going down because the whole industry is affected by this,
Gotcha.
and like you said, there's a lot of dancers, and I know the dancers go and Shazam my stuff, or they're like at the events. I can see it. If one DJ at an event plays my stuff, I can see it the next day. All
Yeah.
A lot of the people there Shazam the song right away. I see it.
Oh
I see it on
wow. Okay.
I see it on Apple Music. It tells you where and when this people Shazam your song.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that's awesome for any artist that does know or doesn't know. I mean,
Exactly.
Shazam is a perfect way of people seeing how far you reach.
Exactly. Exactly. Right there, it tells you the country and the day, more or less. Close to the day when it was Shazam. But
Gotcha.
I can see it. I see it when the DJs, like, let's say DJ Soltrix plays has a big event in San Diego, and he plays one of my tracks. I can see it the next day. San Diego and Shazam joined 68 times.
Wow. That is amazing. And I think it's great that we can celebrate all of the accomplishments, but I think it's so much more important that we understand how it all started.
Of
I mean,
course,
right?
man.
So I
Of
think, for
course.
me, I can give you that introduction, but I definitely couldn't do it as much justice as you. So, I mean, I would love for you to kind of take us back to the beginning and how your love for music started.
Well, my love for music started at home. When I was very young, I remember I lived in Dominican Republic all the way up until I was 6 years old. I was born there, and every birthday party, my mom was already in the U.S. I lived with and my father also. I was with my grandparents, and for my birthday every year, I wanted to dance like Michael Jackson. So mom would have to send me clothing, all the shiny stuff and all this crazy stuff Michael wore, and I would dance at my birthday party for all the rest of the kids. And that's how my love. That was my first love for music, was Michael. And then, and apart from that, of course, the cultural stuff, the
Yeah.
merengue. It was merengue. It was Fernandito Villalona first than anybody else. I as a child, I asked, it was I asked for a vinyl record of
Oh,
one a vinyl record. I asked for one song from Fernandito, It was a payaso. I remember that was like my favorite song as a kid. I don't know why, but that was the song. And then from there, I immigrated to the U.S. Then I met hip hop,
Okay.
and that's I started. I met hip hop, and for years as a child, I listened to hip hop, and at the same time, my father played music every Saturday and Sunday, like the usual
Oh yeah.
Dominican.
When we got to
So
clean up and get, especially as the weekend.
exactly. On the weekend, in the morning it was my mom cleaning, and then in the evening was my father drinking. So it was music all day during the weekend.
Hoy se bebe.
You know the flow, esa es la
Yeah.
vaina. So
Man.
there, then I got to know and memorize a lot of salsa songs. And my father loved salsa, and my father loved a lot of Luis Segura, Blas Duran, and stuff like that. And then it's always been there. The merengues too. The merengue's always been there. That was like my first love was merengue, apart from Michael. Though Sergio Vargas, Arami Camilo, and the Christmas time when they bombard you with those Christmas merengue
Oh
songs.
yeah. Oh yeah. Uh, I mean, for me too, mind you, me growing up in a predominantly Puerto Rican household, my best friend is Dominican, so I kind of grew up with both families. But I completely understand what you're saying. Like when you're
No, it's the same
young,
thing. It's the same
yeah.
thing for Puerto Ricans because I had in my building, my babysitter when I was a child, let's say when I got to the U.S., was Puerto Rican, and she lived right next door, and the culture was is very similar. I mean, it was just like instead of listening to more merengue and more stuff, they would listen to the I don't know what they call the trios and the tres
Yeah,
from
I
Puerto
know what you.
Rico.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
So
This is
and
like
then
early Daddy Yankee, probably.
no, no, no,
And
no, no. I'm talking about way before that, like what the old school people listen to. Because remember, I'm listening to music older people's because I can't pick the music to play.
gosh, yeah, you're at that age when you just.
I can't pick the music yet. Me is the radio. Me is the radio. Hot 97,
Yeah.
WBLS.
Oh man,
That's
and
what I
see,
listen to.
and that kind of talks about of understanding where you migrated to, meaning is New
Exactly.
York. Because when you say stations like WBLS, Hot 97,
There you
that's New
go.
York right there. So seeing
So
that your
those, so
roots.
exactly. So my roots went from strictly straight up Latino and the pop from Michael, which was the only pop artist that I knew, which was popular even when I was in Dominican Republic, because que no conoce a Michael Jackson no sé qué está haciendo en la vida.
Wow. I mean,
And
but that shows like Michael Jackson's reach is so
exactly,
global.
exactly. So growing up, it was Mike. Then the turn kind of salsa. That salsa from the Eddie Santiago and Don classics that Dominicans and Puerto Ricans love from back in
Yeah.
the 80s, 90s.
The Frankie
And also
Ruiz's,
Frankie
yeah.
Ruiz's and
See
all
it.
that. Even a little Fania too. You know what I'm saying?
Man. And just seeing, I mean, just listening to, I could just say you kind of have an old soul when it comes to.
With music, yeah, and I got accustomed to that. I got accustomed to researching. So what I mean. After I started getting for real in the music business, I went back. I always go back, even if I discover someone. If I like one song from one artist, I'm the type of person that goes back and just listens to their whole catalog, see what else they were up to, try to figure out their state of mind.
Wow. That
So
definitely, that's interesting.
that's the type of producer artist I am. I just like to try to feel, let's say, get in your shoes for a second and see what were you thinking when you made this. Like, what's this guy's name? Ruben Blades. Plástica.
Yeah, I remember that song. I
If you
definitely.
go back, this guy, I'm like, I went back in a couple of times, like, yo, pero este tigre lo que estaba pensando que él era los Bee Gees.
Oh, that influence. But
Exactly,
that goes to the cross platforming and just
exactly.
realizing.
So if you listen to my music, I always do it because I love it. You know what I'm saying? So and it goes back, and then I'm like, yo, hago este tipo de cosas, but people already did it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were understood, sometimes they were don't, because a lot of those guys that did some crazy fusions were underestimated and not appreciated.
Absolutely. And I agree with that because you realize even with people that do music, when it comes to music over the years, the biggest thing we hear about is sampling. But there's a difference between paying tribute to an artist that you admire and then completely biting the complete style
Exactly.
and creating, you know.
Exactly, and recreating it, or just taking the el atrevimiento, como dicen, coger el atrevimiento de hacer algo totalmente diferente, which is my attitude towards music. I
Gotcha.
don't never want to be. I don't want nobody to tell me, listen, you're just doing what Romeo does.
And you know what? And the reason I think I would understand why people will try to say that is because when they just see when people say bachata, whether it's the Latino community, whether it's the other people of different races and genres, when they hear about bachata, they kind of correlate it's just Romeo, but don't
Yeah, that is
realize.
no, because the Romeo is honestly. Let's be honest. The Romeo is the biggest thing that's happened to bachata.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even. No, I mean, no, I'm not gonna say Romeo. I'm gonna say Aventura,
Okay.
and then Romeo as a solo artist, because Aventura is the biggest thing that ever happened to bachata, and it's the same thing with Aventura, bro. At the beginning, Aventura would be criticized. Nobody believed in the sound. People were like, "Esto tigre inventando. ¿Qué es esto?"
Yeah.
You know.
And honestly, you know, definitely we're gonna touch on that New York essence of how people felt about bachata. But before we get to that, I definitely want to let you know throughout the interview, we will be having live time comments coming in. For example, Miss Kyla, all the way from Tennessee, showing
Hello,
love.
Kyla.
Renee, yes, Renee out here, all the way from
Hey,
Colorado,
he
showing love.
Rennie. He just uploaded a video, amazing video, dancing to one of my songs.
Look at that. And then as
Shout
well,
out to him and his crew.
and man, Melvin War over here.
Yes, Melvin's my brother, man. I love Melvin. We have a surprise. We have an album together that's coming soon.
Nice. And then my
Next
boy
year,
Jay.
James, Bachata Sensual Radio, man. I love all you guys, man.
Man, we're definitely gonna get into a lot of the collaborations and things you've been able to do over the years. But you touched on something really strong was the New York reception in the initial beginning of when Aventura came out. Because for me, and people may not know, like I can understand the Spanish you're speaking to me. I'm not great at giving it back, but I was always listening to bachata music my whole life. But what was me also, I was doing a lot of the research and listening to the words and realizing too is that I believe with Aventura, they had a direct inspiration from Raulino Rodriguez, Joe Veras, you name it from the 90s. And people have to
Yes,
understand the times evolved, the conversations started to change. A lot of
exactly.
times because I think the music of bachata is, especially during the late 80s and 90s, was a lot of heartbreak, was a lot of just relationship issues, a lot of just pain, a lot of just it was really emotional, but sometimes that music was tied into very upbeat beats per minute. So it kind of like people who weren't interested in the story, more interested in the music. But for me, I would say in the early 2000s, I love bachata. I love bachata in general. I loved everyone who was coming abroad. But when Aventura came, it definitely hit New York, especially the Bronx, like a wildfire. But you saw the difference between people who loved it and people who hated it.
Exactly, but you know why? The thing is also the language barrier. The Aventura took the slang that people their age were using, and
Yes,
kind of translated some of the stuff from the 80s, 90s that mean the same thing, y le dieron con un nuevo sentimiento. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And that continues to happen now.
No,
Continues to
yeah.
continues to happen now, like because, like you said, things evolve and change.
Yeah, and when we're talking about evolving change, there are the people that are going to adapt, and then there's those that are kind of stuck in the old format.
Exactly.
You know, And for me, a question I have is understanding that music has always been really a part of your life. When did you notice that you had a talent for learning to make music and start and then really creating productions?
Well, I was not I never started as a producer. I always had in mind what I wanted to hear on a beat, and I would go sit with producers and ask them for it, and they would be like, "No, tú estás loco. Like you just crazy, you bugging. That does not mix together."
Wow.
So you know, it took me a long time, and I really wouldn't connect with other producers. So one time I went into a Sam Ash store in New York on 48th Street,
Yeah.
and there was a program on a computer, and I just started messing with it then and there, and I was like, I told the dude, "Yo, pack this up. I'm taking it home. Because if I could make this in 2 minutes, I could sit down at home and I could learn how to do this and create the music I want to hear. Now, what these producers are telling me can't happen." And that's when I was like, "Yo, you know what? I could do this. I could produce." Well,
Wow.
my first two albums that I produced were reggaeton albums, and they sucked. But I got major distribution from like Warner Music.
Well, but well, but I would say this: when you say that, it's kind of like a double. Like, hey, I lost in this part, but I gained. But that
Yeah. I
also,
mean, I sucked because I was just beginning, and then there was nobody understood how to make this reggaeton music. It was
that is
only
definitely.
it was only from Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? If you wanted some dope reggaeton, it was only DJ Nelson and Playero and these guys. So I'm like, you know what? This is what I listen to at hooky parties. So, so I was like, yo, this is what I listen to at hooky parties. So let me make this because this is simple.
Oh
And
yeah.
then like, but you know what? The inspiration comes from like, let's go back to listening to Hot 97 and listening to hip
Yeah.
hop, listening to the Jamaicans, to the Rude Boys. Them they would play it on the radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I listened to so much reggae music back in the day that I could spit you a verse like I'm Jamaican, and you'd be like, "Ah, Rude Boy, wrong," you know?
And I love is that again that music has inspired you throughout, even though
Exactly.
you found that and then to think about it, you found the avenue in reggaeton in the beginning because, like you said, there weren't many producers locally or in that area that could make that kind of music.
And yeah, that's the truth. There was only two studios when I started doing reggaeton beats. And I could say I was an amateur for like 3 4 years, and still nobody was around opening studios or nothing like that. And even so, back then, when I started making these reggaeton beats and all that, I would always go back to like trying to sample like a bachata and put it with the rhythm and see if I could come up with something new that nobody else was doing.
And around, I would say, what year was this around where you
That was
kind
like
of
2006, 7 when I was started doing like inventando, como quien dice.
yeah, but then realizing again, we can kind of fast forward a little bit and understanding when did you realize that you started
That I
to
want to really take it serious. Well,
yeah,
20 let's say 2010 after the Bachata Festival in Australia.
and then yes, before we even get to that, understanding how you got there is important because, like you said, for those past few years before, previously, like you said, you were an amateur, you were learning, you were in the studios with producers trying to get as much help and advice as possible. But
Yeah.
then in the end, it actually landed you an opportunity to work with a group called Unique.
Yes, exactly. I honestly the Unique's producer, we call him Dice. Me and him we meet him after a couple of years after me producing on my own. I met him and then we produced together. We would produce together. So I met him. He came to me like, "Yo, help me do this for this group." Came to my studio in the Bronx, and then and I'm like, "Yo, I wasn't really crazy about it." I'm like, "Oh shit, these dudes are trying to be like Aventura." That's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And I already had the background from bachata from the one group that was called Bachata Mix. I don't know if you ever got to hear Bachata Mix. Bachata Mix was a cover band. It was a cover band in New York, and they played at every damn club, but they would sing everybody else's shit.
Okay. I mean,
You know
I
what
wouldn't
I'm
be
saying?
I wouldn't be surprised if I probably heard, but then, like you said, you being able to get the chance to work with Dice's artists gave you the opportunity then to go to what many know, and I think it was 2010, was the Sydney Bachata Festival.
Yes, because this is the group. They were booking the group Unique to go to the Sydney Batch Festival, and I don't remember what the situation was, but I know it was something with their traveling paperwork and their I don't know if it was passports or whatever it was, but I wrote a song specifically for the festival that was called We Love Bachata, which was supposed to be for them to perform it at the festival. It was like specifically for the festival. Like as soon as I heard it, they were like, "Listen, the people want us to perform a special song, la la la." I wrote a song called "We Love Bachata." Well, it happens that they were not going to be able to go, so I showed the song. Then they were like, "Hey, the organizers heard the song with my voice as a reference."
Oh,
So they
you were
were
a reference track.
I was a reference track. So then they heard the song and then like, "Oh, Unique can no longer go. Can you come?" I'm like, "Listen, bro, I only have two. I only have this one bachata, and I have like three other bachatas that I already had put out that were like, mind you, they were like when we say bachata de computadora because they didn't have real guitars or nothing.
Oh, gotcha.
It was just like the arreglo on the computer, and then my vocal official on it
Wait, was this like Fruity Loops?
on Fruity Loops, and I still
Oh,
to this day I
gotcha.
still use the same technique, bro.
Man, I mean, no, and you and like thousands of other musicians and people that I know personally, Fruity Loops is like still
Yeah.
to this day one of the top.
Yeah. Like I had this one song called "Ladrona de mi Corazón," which was my first bachata, honestly. But one thing before that, now that I remember, before Unique, there was a group called Diamante. Before and then there, I didn't know how to produce before then. All I did was just like write songs with them, and I participated in two or three of their bachatas. But my thing with bachata was always like, yo, I hear R&B songs, I hear rap songs, I hear merengue songs with Wilfrido Vargas, and they have raps in them. Why can't bachata have rap on it? So I always wanted to rap on niggas bachatas. They'd be like, nah. They're
No,
like,
we not
no,
having that. We not having that.
nah, esa vaina no.
You
Like,
already want to
bro,
add some extra strings. Now you want to add some rap into it. You're going a
exactly.
little
Like,
too.
no, esa vaina no va con la bachata. You know what I'm saying? And that was
Oh,
like in every group I met, I'll be like, yo, let me
can
spit
I
a
get a
verse?
little? Can I
Let
spit a
me
verse?
spit a verse.
Like I'm helping you get a song together. Like hook me
You
up
know
real
what I
quick.
mean? And people wasn't having that. People didn't understand that would be the evolution of the sound, and it would eventually get there.
Yeah,
So if you go
it's.
back and if you go back on my Spotify, listen to Ladrona de mi Corazón. That was 2004.
Ooh, I'm definitely yeah. We're definitely gonna check that out and realizing too, like understanding with your music, is that it was just more about the outside world not trying to understand or not trying to realize that the music that they loved from yesterday was not going to be the music of tomorrow.
Exactly. So then going back to the Sydney Bachata Festival, these guys heard my reference. They're like, "Hey, you want to come to Australia?" Do 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 do. And there we go. I got to Australia to perform "We Love Bachata." That one demo song took me all the way to Australia, and that's
Man,
like I told. That's where I met Take Alemana, and I met so many dancers, so many different cultures loving bachata, and I was like,
yeah.
wow. And I was like, "Esta es la vuelta. This is
Cause
the
coming
move."
from New York, it's like
Looking at so many different national,
yeah,
ethnic backgrounds doing different things. I was surprised, man.
yeah.
There were some people from Japan there. There was people from Germany there. There were people from all over the world at that festival doing choreos
Yeah,
and steps to bachata, and I'm like, I was shocked, bro.
yeah,
And that's
and
when I
that's
was like, That's when I took it to things like, yo, esta es la vuelta.
Yeah, and realizing, like you said, having to go to Sydney, and then you're looking at it like, oh, this is going somewhere. Like this is not just something we had in our backyard or in our houses or at
Exactly.
local events. Now this is in a different level.
Exactly. So then I started to appreciate the whole continuing to go with wanting to be different with bachata
Yeah.
then and there. And even the years after that, it was very difficult for me because people still wouldn't understand what I was trying to do and where I was trying to take it. So the couple of singles that I dropped then and there, people still wouldn't understand it. But We Love Bachata stood there always as a favorite.
So then realizing after the Sydney Fest, kind of understanding then from that inspiration you got at the Sydney Bachata Festival, coming back to the States, what kind of changed for you over time that allowed you then to make those connections and start really picking up steam in a sense?
Well, honestly, after that, I went to LA with Leslie. To the I think she's one of the organizers of the LA Bachata Festival. I went to her school.
Okay.
I went to her school and I performed at her school. And then I started getting booked a lot in San Diego. Like San Diego was a very strong city for me for all these years. You know, it's I've visited San Diego and the bachata scene is really strong over there,
Yeah.
and all over the U.S. I've performed everywhere. I've been to Minnesota, I've been to Detroit, I've been to all these other cities, uh, New Orleans. I've performed in a lot of cities all over the
I
U.S. And
I
Nicaragua. I went to Nicaragua to bring
Oh
bachata
man.
and merengue there,
That
and
is
like it's just staying constant, creating, trying to the next thing. You know what I mean? I'm never happy with just doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to add something, a little spice to my sound.
Yeah, man. I definitely appreciate it. And I think also appreciating that you understand then after the Bachata Festival and you started seeing now choreographies to these dances. I noticed too over the years that you started, or artists or dancers started using your music to create their choreos and demos and share it all over the world. And then also you having music videos with dancers in it. And
Exactly.
that right there for me separated you from many, because I think what happens is when it comes to the music and the promotion of it, why not work with the DJ, work with the dancer, work with the musician?
One thing I'm gonna say right now. I mean, this is how I feel. I don't know if this is my personal feeling. I think what's kept bachata in the popular eye and en lo popular over the years
Yeah.
has been the dancers. Because honestly, the artists that were the big artists from Dominican Republic stayed too much in the Dominican Republic and really didn't reach out to markets like Romeo and Aventura didn't reach out to. So the genre itself, la gente que lo ha mantenido donde está son los bailarines.
It's true, because again, it's like we can hear your music on our headphones and our phones. We can hear it at a club, but it's so much different when you have dancers. You pick up a phone and take a video, and that video can be shared virally, globally. And I think
And
that's what helped.
yeah, exactly. And also the DJs, the bachata DJs, the
Yep.
remixers. I know there's a lot of people that que no le gusta, que no se pueden, eso no es bachata, eso remix. You know what? Every
Still,
genre, every genre, hip hop. I come from the hip hop genre, and I'm used to remixes, and I'm used to
yes.
people taking your track and putting another beat behind it. I'm used to listening to Hot 97 and the hip hop songs. Venía Bobby Condos y le ponía un reggae arriba. So I
Yeah.
mean, to me, it's all part of the game. So there has to be these remixes que los DJ cojan la voz de Bad Bunny y le hagan una bachata.
because people also, like you said, with Drake and Bad Bunny, that kind of cross promotion.
Exactly. Like you have to do that to bachata. That helps bachata. That does not take away. And the same thing, the even though bongo chatas that people don't like. I know a
Yeah,
lot of people are against that, but I see people dancing to it.
and that's what I'm saying. Everybody's opinion is different. Whether you call it bongo
Exactly.
chata, trap chata, urban bachata, like
Exactly.
there's so much
I mean,
possibilities.
exactly. I mean, it's all bachata to me. Now, I stopped calling my sound trap chata because I think I was the first one started calling it that in
But I also
2005.
But I also started seeing when I was researching your music that people would call it more bachata urban,
Bachata
and
urbana.
that yeah.
Yeah, that
So
bachata urbana, that comes from the New York end of the sound. That the bachata urbana was basically born in New York because of Aventura.
okay.
That's what the
So
first that they started calling it bachata urbana because it had that young flavor to it. It had the R&B flavor that they injected into it.
absolutely, and that's the thing too. Realizing that you could use the people that influence you through your childhood into your
Exactly.
music.
And that's the same thing. I'm pretty sure Romel feels the same way because I see him post his post when he posts as a throwback. You can see the direct connection immediately to the post to the throwback he posts. You can see it right away. And I think every great musician has to be inspired. You can't just nadie como dice el dicho en el para los latinos, nadie nace sabiendo, papá.
And now that kind of helps me then more understand that again a person like yourself again who came from the Dominican Republic to New York, who's been like bachata music has always been a part of your life, and for you to say I love what other people are doing with it all, with our music because it helps broadcast it, it helps really shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It amplifies it. It amplifies. That's the what they call culture. This is
Yes.
bachata culture. You know what I'm saying? This is when people someone takes a Usher song and puts some bongos and guitars and a bass behind it. That's culture because you're taking it to another world.
Absolutely. Sorry for that. No, just a camera issue. But
It's all right.
I can, yeah, no, but for me, understanding how much of an influence music has been to you and then seeing how you become a musician, before at least we kind of transition into a segment that I call the randoms, I really wanted to know who are some artists over time that you have loved working with and that you would love to work with in the future.
Well, I mean, I like I said, I worked with Unique, and it was a unique experience. I got to work with, I mean, it was all learning process because at the same time that producing and all that, it was learning the game and learning,
Yeah.
the backgrounds of it. I got to work with Royce also. There's a leaked track online that's called La Ventanita. That was I didn't leak it, but
Wait,
it
wait. So
leaked.
you have a so
It
you
was
have a
supposed to
leak
be
track with.
it was supposed to be an official song, but I never got permission. And there was one time that all his songs got leaked, and that song was included in the leaks. It was a
Oh
merengue
wow.
song, but at the beginning of his career, I worked with him, and his producer to this day was a very good friend of mine. And honestly, I still have respect for all of them, even though we don't have that great relationship we had back then because of other
Yeah.
people. But I still have respect, and I respect what they do and what they do for the culture. You know what I'm
Eh,
saying? But I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of these big bachata producers and guys like with SP. SP is a great producer also, and very important to the bachata genre, bachata urbana especially. He's one of the first one that que lo impulsó when it started in New York with
Yeah.
groups like Extreme and all that. And I've learned from all these guys. No matter what our relationship is, I've learned from them, and you know what I'm saying. I'm inspired by them, and even with the new people that I've come to meet because because of doing this music thing. Like Melvin for me is a very special guy, has a unique sound,
Yeah.
and I'm one to point it out immediately. You know what I mean? I don't have any egos on talent. If I hear somebody and they're unique with something, bro, hay que trabajar. Porque que si yo no veo que tú, and I'm not saying that they don't, pero si yo veo también que there's people that don't know how to polish themselves and they're a diamond, I'm like, yo, let me know what I could do to help you polish.
Yeah, and
Because
that's
because it's a problem. Because you're a problem. You're a problem.
it's true, and I think too what helps is that it really shows that from you being a person at one point that people you could say overlooked what you had and your capabilities.
Exactly.
Now
I
you're
would. I wish
reversing
people
that.
would. Exactly. So I don't want nobody to go through what I went through. I'd rather try to push to help you push. You know what I mean? If we can, if you know what I mean, I got a lot of. I'm just starting, bro. I couldn't put
Yeah.
out the songs I wanted to put out this year. Just know
I
that.
I feel you, and I'll tell you this. For me, it definitely when things definitely get better, and we'll talk about this a little later. When things do get back to a new normal, and we're in some way able to go to events safely, like as well as Melvin's music, your music too. I already have saved certain songs already that I would love to use for my visuals when I do socials, because I think also that's a great respect because of me having to listen to your music and to match everyone's moves with it and make it look flawless. That's something I love doing for sure.
So for one thing that I started to do when I got back because after We Love Bachata, I released one or two tracks and I stopped because I felt people didn't understand what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? People didn't see the vision of where I was trying to take it, and I reconnected with everybody in the dance scene when I dropped 3 years ago. Festival de Amor. Festival de Amor. Festival de Amor was like, let me come back with this because I know, and I made it tailor made specifically for dancers.
Oh,
So that's when I was like, you know what? I was like, let me just stop making songs about love and whatnot. Let me go back to the formula for We Love Bachata and let me concentrate on these festivals, dancers, their
yeah.
moves, their styles. And this is when things started to pick up now, like, yo, nos fuimos con esto y aquí nos vamos a quedar. Because people understand it now.
Because people understand it because you understand them. When you
Exactly.
understand the people that you're trying to influence, it makes everything easier.
If
So
you go
now
to
it
my
can,
songs, you'll notice in every song, not every song, because
yeah.
también hay que seguir con la cortavena, hay que seguir con el amalgue, hay que seguir con el flow y la vuelta. But if you go back to the songs, like let's say Festival de Amor, listen to Bien Dansé, which is which is the song with a couple of French songs. These songs connect directly, are tailor made for dancers. You know what I'm saying? I think about what would I would do when I'm on the dance floor and what I see them do in the videos.
And that speaks a lot because then it shows that you really
And
care
I,
about,
and I appreciate it. That's why I started to do it like that because that is one art that complements another.
and that's why I think many dancers really truly appreciate your music because it shows how much you want to collaborate with the artist instead of just settling for what you specifically want.
Exactly, because this is the thing I say. Listen, if these guys like Romeo, like not Romeo, let's say the old school, the la gente más vieja, they would just recently they started sharing the dancers, Anthony Santo and them.
Yeah. No, and I agree. It's only been of recent years that these artists been actually giving that love back to the dancers.
Exactly, and I think because and they should because estas son la gente que ha mantenido tu género vivo.
Yeah. It's and the thing is that people have to understand in reality sometimes having like for example when you have then the usher doing it with Romeo and it's like that
And
right
Drake,
there
that when
the
that happened, I
Drake
went. Esa vaina, I was like, I went bonkers when I'm like, yo, this is what I've been trying to do for a minute.
But then the thing is, it actually worked instead of just sounding
Exactly.
so
No, because
commercial.
no, you know what it is. It was like if it was just the status. No matter Romeo ahora mismo coge y hace una loquera y si y no le pone guitarra, olvídate, people gonna eat it.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, for me now, we've kind of glazed or grimaced over then the understanding of when bachata, I would say in the 2000s, the evolution of the music started to come. You had the people who understood, and you had the people that
Didn't exactly.
rejected the change. But evidently, over the years, bachata has been able to evolve, and I think, from my understanding, it's artists like yourself and others that really were doing this like over 10 years ago that really deserve this recognition because it's your music that was playing in many parties and clubs, especially back in New York. And people now, the vision that you had so many years ago, you see it really in front of your eyes, and you're seeing how successful that game plan can work.
Exactly. It was just time for people to understand that because remember, there was a transition always in the age part from the people that were old school to now what they call Latin X, which are the people that grew up listening to what we grew up listening to, the hip hop,
Yeah.
to the reggae, to the dancehall. And now, if you throw that and you mix that with anything and the words and the new words, people will understand it.
Yeah.
Which back then, if I played some rap song for my father, he'd be like, "Esa vaina, quítame eso."
Man, and that's a that's amazing. And now it kind of helps me transition into a segment that I call the randoms, which is 10 questions that I have from all of my guests that allows me and the audience to get to understand you.
Yeah,
And some questions, of course, will be music related, some won't, but I think it will allow us to get to know a little bit more about you. So
sounds good.
definitely let me know when you're ready.
Let's go. Vamos a
All
darle.
right. Number one is, what's your favorite food?
Bueno, in my country we call it la bandera, which is arroz, habichuela y carne.
Okay. Number two is, what is your favorite bachata song of all time?
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, I have a lot of favorites, but I'm
And
gonna say, it's the song I learned to dance bachata too.
okay.
Just to respect it, I'm gonna respect that song like that. It's not like it's not because I go bonkers over it. I have so much respect for that song because I learned how to dance to it, which was "Voy pa allá" de Anthony Santos.
Okay. Boy, but yeah. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
a that's the ultimate. That's the traditional one. The next question is, what is your dream vacation destination?
Um. Well, I think it's Greece.
Okay. I'm assuming Santorini.
Exactly, because
All right.
that's a spot my wife wants to go to, so I think I want to take her there and I want to experience her emotions on that trip.
Okay. I like that. Next one will be, what is your favorite bachata city to visit?
Well, San Diego. I love San Diego overall. Not
Nah,
only because of the experiences, but I love the vibe in that city. I love the temperature. I've always said, listen, if I get time to retire and I have all this money, I'm moving there to just chill.
I feel you on that, man. The next one is gonna be, what would you consider your spirit animal?
Bueno, un tigre loco, porque dime,
All
soy
right.
dominicano.
I should have known that one already. All right, let me see then. This might be a toughie then. Romeo Santos or Ralin Rodriguez?
Romeo, because
Okay.
it's just a thing of the times.
I
Nothing
got you.
against. It's not because it's nothing has nothing to do with musical, but I understand Romeo more than I understand Raulin because of the whole um influence and coming up and being raised and coming up in New York.
Got you. Next one is, what would be your superpower?
bueno, loco. Te di una vaina así como The Flash.
Okay, I like that. The Flash.
Velocidad, velocidad.
This next one definitely gets a lot of my guests. Who are three people that are most influential to you at this point
In music,
in life?
in life. Honestly, my son, because my son is he has this entrepreneurial mind that's way beyond anything that I was when I was 15.
Yeah.
He's always thinking of something new. Listen, I'm gonna become a millionaire with this, a millionaire with that. And my parents, because they they've accomplished so much after getting to the United States. And number three would have to be like my wife.
Awesome. That was a good answer, that last one.
Yeah, para que no me den una galleta.
Yeah. The next one would be if you had what is a special talent that many people would know or don't know about you?
I can tell like as soon as I hear a song, if they sampled it from somewhere, I could tell like immediately.
Ooh, wow, that's awesome. I mean, that's really you have a really great musical ear to know
Yeah,
that.
like I've listened, and I it's like I have a library in my brain. It's crazy. Sometimes
Man,
I hear a song like, "Mira, esa vaina la cogí de tal sitio," and then I go
yeah,
back
you
and
heard it.
I
But
yeah,
that's
man,
awesome, man. That shows how much you love music. And our last one
exactly.
would be if you were on an island, what are three things that you would have to have with you?
Bueno, comida,
Okay. Gotta have some
my
food.
studio setup,
Okay.
and the family.
All right. I like that, man. And then again, thank you for this quick little segment. It definitely made me see
Yeah.
how much you love your bandera and how much Romeo means to you. Man, but again, it's
I don't have a crush on the dude, but it's
no, man, but again, I think really in general, it's just the appreciation.
of
And,
course
and
you have to pay homage to the people that took it to where it's inspiring, man.
yeah, and now it kind of helps me transition into understanding before we get to the present is what and from what I've found out as well for the past 7 years, you actually went from New York City all the way to Montreal. And
Yeah.
that's something for me, I always was interested in understanding why more. Because, especially with my visit about 2 years ago to Montreal, I absolutely love the dance scene out here, especially at La Espaces, the Arts. That's a big place in Montreal.
Spots this arts, yeah.
Spots the Arts. Yeah, sorry. I always say it
Yeah.
wrong. But, I mean, for me, I've seen over the years Montreal or Canada's dance scene growing crazy. But I would love to know, like, what made you make that ultimate move to Montreal?
Well, I honestly was first because of love, because my wife, she's from here,
Gotcha.
and secondly, I came to visit here, and it was like, this is something different than New
Yeah.
York. It's like más tranquilo,
Yes.
more like, this is something I could be like, I could just chill. I got tired of the fast, crazy New York life. In here it's not like that. It's not that quick. Things are much more calmer. Con take
Mm-hmm.
it easy. Como decían los papás, ¿no? Hay que
Yeah.
cogerlo con take it easy. Y aquí la gente lo coge con take it easy.
Man. And so wait, a question I definitely have is when you then made that move to Montreal, were you able to have, I guess in a sense, a better relationship with a lot of the DJs or producers or just the scene of Montreal, kind of that initial move there?
No, because I think everywhere, if I could have went to Japan and it would have been the same thing. I mean, it's just a thing of yo lo busco. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not the type to be like, listen, I'm not gonna respond to a message because I'm Prophex. I'm not like that. I want to be involved in the, like I said, the culture. This is
Yeah.
this is this is not about I'm fulano de tal and I'm all the way up here and I cannot mingle with the people down here. No, I
Yeah.
can't be like that. And maybe it puede ser una espada de doble filo because some people don't agree with an artist being like this.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely the way. It's more organic. It's more servicial. You know what I'm saying? It's a tighter bond. It goes
Hmm.
beyond just being a fan of a DJ and whatever. Like I'm cool with all the DJs.
Yeah. And
And
that's
I and
that's
I'm and I, I'm not afraid to tell DJ, yo, listen, I got this new track, and you play it. Can't, you know what I'm saying?
no,
Because
it's true.
I'm not. You got to know your level. I'm not at the level for people to come like. I'm not saying I'm not talented, but I'm not at the level where people andan vuelto loco. I'm not number one on the billboards. I'm not buying a
Yeah.
spot. You know what I'm saying? So this is it's a more organic thing, and it becomes something else, especially when you grow to a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean again, with every artist there's a turning point, whether you can still keep the humility or you kind of change yourself to fit a persona that you created. But I mean, for me, I've noticed just within our interviews that you've really been able to stay the same person. Your music has evolved, your
Exactly.
influence has evolved, but still keeping them grassroots approach to things and not getting too big headed. You're more level
Exactly.
headed. That's really important. And that kind of now helps me kind of go fast forward into now what many of us have been dealing with for the past 6 to 8 months, even longer, has been COVID. And realizing that we've talked as well that with COVID, I mean, it's wiped out our dance community for a couple months with events. And now, especially with producers, sometimes you can go into a musical rut, like a writer's block. And sometimes just that feeling and that motivation can sometimes go missing. But for me, I would love to know from your perspective how you've been able to adapt over these last few months.
Well, honestly, it's hard because especially this year, I had a lot of things going on. Like I had like the Chicago
Yeah,
fest.
international. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that. I had like four other things that were in the works where I was supposed to be, and it was supposed to be like headlining a couple of bachata big events, and it was totally. I was super looking forward to it, bringing my show, and bringing because when you see me live, it's another thing. You're gonna see another
Yeah.
person. You're gonna see something crazy up there, like it's a different energy, and that's something that really that's one of the things I love about the business. It's being able to perform and bring this different energy when I perform. You know what I'm saying? It's like yo soy un loco ahí, like I
Yeah.
get crazy. Like I still wear Michael Jackson jackets and stuff when I'm on stage.
But I would even, as for me, I admire it because you understand presentation.
Exactly,
You
and
understand performance.
exactly. So going back to how this has affected that, it's just like I haven't been able to do what I love on a stage. And number two, I mean, like, the creativity part, sometimes it goes down 1 or 2 days, but it comes back up because you keep thinking, you motivate yourself to keep thinking, like, what can I do now to prepare for
Yeah,
when this is over and I can make an impact?
yeah. No, I agree. And again,
You
just
can't dwell on the fact that we're limited. Like I don't, I can maybe go down 1 or 2 days, like, yeah, coño, cuando te va a pasar? But then it's
yeah,
like,
right back to work.
you know what, déjame hacer esta canción que cuando esta vaina pase la gente
Yep.
se va a volver loco con esto.
It's true because again, the people there's so many people in our scene, but in the dance community, but people who are music lovers. That, like I said, when we've talked about with Spotify and stuff, even with numbers going down, you still have a fan base, and I think that's
Exactly.
something to hold true. And that realizing again throughout our talk here, we've been able to understand where it all started from, and
Exactly.
now we're at this point where learning from you how you've been able to adapt. And for me, I think
Exactly.
it's been really amazing to hear your story tonight because now we can truly understand the man beyond the stage or the man beyond the song. So for me,
Exactly.
it's and even here we have a special guest here, my boy Biscuit, all the way from London out here, man. I love this guy. He has his own podcast as well. And realizing too, having your story out here reaches the masses because there are so many more new people who are going to be listening to your music because they've heard your story.
Exactly. Thank you, man. And I really appreciate what you're doing too. For like I said, the culture is very important. I see it a lot. I'm very inspired by the hip hop community always because of
Yeah,
their togetherness and bonding together and the way they always push culture first. And I think that's very important. And bachata should do that too. Not everybody's gonna fit at the beginning, but when people start to understand it, there should always be a push for culture. And you're definitely part of that push for culture, togetherness, and bonding. And
absolutely.
and like I said, I can tell that now there's analytics. I can see where people are listening to my music. People in London
Yeah,
love my music. People in Russia love my music. People in Italy love my music. It's crazy.
yeah,
Before we were limited. We didn't know where the hell people were listening to their music. Now
yeah.
I can see 400 streams in Russia. I'm like, oye, ¿qué están haciendo la gente escuchando esa vaina en Rusia?
But realizing again what music can do and how much
Exactly. It
it
can
can
connect
reach.
us all. It's one.
Yes.
It's a language. You know what I mean? Even in most of these people, you know what's crazy? A lot of these people don't know a damn thing in Spanish.
Yeah.
There you
Uh,
go. It's crazy. It's that crazy.
no, and in reality too, people understand that with bachata, whether it's as they call it traditional or modern or urban, whatever you
You know
call
what?
it,
That I don't know, man. I gotta. I do traditional with my flow. Like if you listen to my song
exactly.
Vanidosa, it's a traditional bachata, but I'm going you with the new language, with the old language, with the different swag.
No, yeah, and that's a key thing is realizing that talking to an artist like yourself, that you're completely honest in saying this is my fusion, this is my way, my interpretation.
Yeah,
It's
because
not about
everybody exactly because everybody's different. It's just the way
yeah,
when I hear like let's say Melvin on a track, yo, I love it because Melvin viene con una vaina que yo digo mierda. The tigre se fue para otro planeta.
yeah,
And that makes me happy because it's not only me out here doing it. You know what I mean? Melvin's doing it. There's the dudes that do the other type of bachatas too that I respect, like
yeah.
Manny, Rod, Grupo Extra.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people out there doing dope bachata.
Absolutely, and
That should and they should be the highlight now. We should be the replacements. I'm not saying, but they're getting old, and you got to everything evolves. Raulín and Zacarias and all these dudes, ellos están poniendo viejo.
yeah,
Who's gonna do it when they do? Because there's no bachata artist coming out in DR. And it's weird to me.
yeah. And that's the thing is that again, I think over time we're gonna just see this music evolve, the generations evolve, and again, I'm glad that we were able to have you. And at least before we do go, I would love to know if you can give myself, but also the audience, some last few words and also contact info on where they can reach you.
Bueno, I'm always active on all social media. You can follow me at Prophex everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, and todo lado. You'll find me there if you need to reach me. If you need to reach out to me, any questions, anything, you just reach out. And I want to just tell everybody to keep pushing the culture, keep pushing togetherness, and stay safe. Right now, just follow the rules, follow the norms, follow what we need to do so we can get over it.
Yeah.
Like it's not a joke. I mean, I've known two or three people that have had it, and they tell me, oh, it's not a joke. It brings you down, and then you're not
Yeah.
the same. And just let's push together till we can get over this.
Absolutely, man. And honestly, it's just been a pleasure and honor
And
having you
also,
on.
same here, man. I thank you very much, and for doing all the background work and connecting
Yeah.
with people, and not only me, but everybody you interview because it's always it's always something to learn, and it's always
Yeah.
something to find out, and it's always a new experience.
No, it's true. And to be honest, from talking with Melvin, connecting me to you, and then realizing how I was inspired by your music for so many years, but just couldn't put the music to the person. And now being able to have you on for my last
What were
episode
the
of
songs? What were the songs you used to listen to in the clubs in New York back in the
no,
day?
the song that
Mostly the merengue electronicos was the ones that
yeah.
were really banging back in the
No,
day.
to be honest with you, I remember hearing We Love Bachata. I even wrote them down. I remember hearing We Love Bachata, La Medicina, Chiquita was a good one that I really heard too. I've heard those in clubs as well. Ex Amor, before when, everything was happening. I mean, music like that you have, I love is that when I listen to your music from 2010 onwards, realizing the growth
The
as
evolution of
you.
it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you learn every time you learn, you're like, and then I think as an artist, you pick up the little things like, oh right, I did sexually amor, but people really this is what people like from it. Then you add the element to another song, so it's a
Yeah.
special thing, man.
Absolutely. And honestly, I can't wait to hear more music from you as well.
Thank
I
you.
am really looking forward to your new single that you're coming out with DJ Soltrix later this month.
You're gonna hear. You know what I told you about the Jamaican influence? You're gonna hear it
Yeah.
there.
All right. Definitely.
You
I've
know,
heard
I
it.
could kick I could kick it to you right now if you
Let me
want.
hear You know what?
Girl,
For the
let me
last
touch your
episode, let's
body.
hear
Right.
it.
Girl, let me touch your body. Animal like in a safari. All night long, just be feeling Irish. A sensual party. Right there, punani. Nani. Nani.
Hey, I like that, man. I definitely can't wait to hear that for sure.
I think it's the first bachata that has the dance hall swing at a breakdown in it.
Okay, I mean, honestly, I'm looking forward to it because I love music and I love just hearing artists' interpretations. And honestly, I think again tonight has been awesome. I thank you again coming all the way from Montreal, having the time and the effort to have this conversation. I feel like I know so much more about you. Again, I appreciate everything you've contributed to our
Thank
community,
you.
and you
Same
will.
here, bro.
Absolutely. And then again, like I've told many of my guests, this is our first interview, but I definitely don't want it to be our last. And I would love to have you on for our season 5 or season 6 next year just to catch up on everything's been going
Exactly.
on.
Yes, man.
Absolutely. Thank
Totally
you.
down, man. Count on it. And gracias a ti también. And thank you for everybody who tuned in and sent the messages. I really appreciate what everybody does for the culture, bachata culture. We should keep pushing it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Prophets,
man.
man. Be safe.
Buenas
Have you and your
noches.
family. Buenas noches, everyone.